to talk to you about why it's a really bad idea to do any kind of work in France if you're on a visitor visa. So a lot of people ask me this question. They say, look, I'm working for a US company a job that I can do remotely, and I want to come to France. Can I continue working on at my US job and do it from France and just get a visitor visa because I'm not actually planning on seeking employment in France? And the other question people ask me that is related is, I work as a freelancer. I have all my clients in the US or outside of France. Also, can I do this job in France and just not seek any French clients and be on a visitor visa? The answer to both of those questions is no. And in this video, I'm going to tell you about why the answer is no and why it's a really bad idea to get a visitor visa if you're doing any kind of work in France. So the answers are mostly related, but slightly different based on the difference between employment and self-employment in France. So here's the main reason. If you are in France and you live here and you work here, you are a French fiscal resident, and that means that you should pay all social taxes and all income taxes to France first. So basically, there are different criteria for being a French tax resident. One of them is you live 183 days or more in France. The others are, it's the center of your family life, it's the center of your professional life, you own a residence here, anything like that. There are a couple of different criteria that the tax office evaluates. But the main reason being time. If you have a carte de séjour and you live more than 183 days in France, you're a French tax resident. And the French tax treaty, or the tax treaty between France and your country, so I'm going to use the example of the US in this case, decides where your income should be taxed first. So if you're a US citizen living in France more than 183 days, your worldwide assets and worldwide income are taxed first in France before they're subject to US tax, with very few exceptions like retirement income, things like that. So that means that according to both French and US law, any income that you earn while you are a resident of France you need to pay social taxes on it in France, and you need to pay income taxes on it in France. Now, the prefecture may tell you from an immigration standpoint that, like, okay, well, if you're just working on your US job, but you're doing it, remotely from your couch, in Paris, it's not a big deal. Well, unfortunately, URSSAF and the tax authorities would probably disagree with you with that interpretation. I'm not an accountant. I worked for one for a couple of years, and I'm not a lawyer. So if you're planning on doing either of these things, you need to talk with some experts. But the tax thing and evading taxes can get you into a lot of trouble. So here's the rub. If you're on a visitor visa, even if you have the best intentions of paying your taxes in France, you're not going to be able to register to pay any taxes, at least social taxes, because you don't have a visa that enables you to register a business or to register a salary. And when you go to renew your visitor visa at the prefecture, they ask for a copy of your French tax return, which you need to file even if you don't have any income. And when you get the visitor visa, you sign a form saying, I promise I will not seek employment or work in France. Do you see the problem? If you suddenly turn in a tax return with a visitor visa that has salary on it, you're going to have some questions. You're going to have a lot of trouble renewing your visa, and you could even have your visa withdrawn from you if you start reporting income that is active income, meaning salary or freelance income. So that's why you can't really do any freelancing or any work as a contractor for any companies outside of France if you have a carte de séjour for France. Another issue is that if you're in France and you're on a visitor visa and you decide that you want to start freelancing or start a business or whatever, it's really hard to switch from a visitor visa to another kind of visa, because a visitor visa or a visitor resident card does not give you the same rights as other types of residency cards that allow you to work a salaried job or work a freelancing job, or even as a student you have the right to work part-time. And so the special status of visitor, unfortunately, is very difficult to switch from because you're considered basically a tourist. And when you do want to switch from visitor, first you need to make sure that you renew it at least once before you try to switch to another status. And you need to ask for special authorization from the prefecture before you can even make an appointment to submit your application. So I'm currently going through that with one of my clients right now, who is a photographer who has been living in Paris for several years on a visitor visa, and she wants to switch to a visa that enables her to do photography. And she's having some difficulty, and she had her application rejected a couple of years ago, and now we're trying again. So hopefully that will go through, but it shows that it's a very it can be a very difficult situation to switch over to another type of visa if you have the status of visitor. Same thing if you're a student and you want to open a business or you want to get a salary job, you need to make sure that you renew your visitor visa at least once, or your student visa at least once, before you try to switch to another status. And basically the reason for that is that if you try to switch within the first year, or switch at the first renewal, the prefecture is going to consider that you were never intending to maintain the status of visitor or maintain the status of student when you applied for the original visa. And the problem that that causes is that it calls into question your good faith when applying for the visa type you initially had. And so there's a lot more investigation into whether or not into whether or not you were acting in good faith, and whether or not the change of status should be allowed. There's a lot more scrutiny that goes into it. If you're working for a company remotely and you're a salaried employee and you want to do that from France, there are also reasons why that's not a great idea. If a company has employees in France, they are subjected to French labor law, and they're supposed to have a French branch office or a French subsidiary. You are supposed to have a salarié en mission visa, where you're getting sent from France to, or from your country to France to complete a special mission, like opening a branch office or opening a store or whatever. And your contract is supposed to be subject to French labor laws, even if technically you can be like a detached foreign employee that is still subject to a contract in your home country and social charges in your home country. So your company is doing illegal things if they're having an employee work in France without having the proper visa and authorization and going through all these steps to create some kind of French entity. So here's what you have to do instead, basically. If you're in any of these scenarios, you need to get a visa that allows you to set up your own business entity. So if you have many clients and are a freelancer, you can apply for a visa profession libérale or commerçant that allows you to be an auto-entrepreneur. And it's a pretty simple application to put together. It's not easy, but it's straightforward in terms of what the requirements are: a business plan, financial projections, a list of who your clients are, and basically showing that you're going to be able to make 1,500 euros per month of income. Now, in my opinion, and I'm going to do another video on this, this is one of the easiest visa types to get, because they tend to, as long as you have a serious business plan and you've put a lot of thought into what your business is going to be. They tend to approve the application first, give you 1 year to start up your business and be making money. And then they review your success at the end of the first year, and assuming that you're making about minimum wage, then they're going to extend your visa and allow you to continue living and working in France. Now, if you only have one client and your client is your employer in the US, technically you're not allowed to be auto-entrepreneur because auto-entrepreneur requires you to have more than one client. So either you can be travailleur indépendant, which is similar to auto-entrepreneur in that it's a freelancer status, but you aren't required to have more than one client, or you can create your own company, like an EURL or an SASU. Both of those are limited liability companies in France for one person who owns the entire company. And in that situation, it's better to have your employer pay you as a contractor to your company, and then you deduct all your expenses from the company and then pay yourself a salary. So in either of those situations, your visa status would be commerçant, because commerçant status is required to register a company in France. And then at that point, your company isn't running into the trouble of having employees in France without a branch office. They're not running afoul of international treaties for companies working outside of their countries of origin, and you are not violating any tax laws by avoiding social charges or income taxes in France. So again, that should be a pretty straightforward application to do. If you already have the job, you have your employer write you a letter stating that they're going to be one of your clients when you're freelancing, and you put together a short business plan and some financial projections and show how you're going to make at least 1,500 euros per month running your company. So again, not a super complicated process to get the proper authorization, and it's really going to save you a lot of time and trouble in the long run. So I've put together a free PDF that has all of the main company types that you can create in France, or the main ways to be self-employed in France. So as a freelancer, your options are auto-entrepreneur or travailleur indépendant, which is for people who make more money than auto-entrepreneurs as freelancers. Two company types, the EURL, which is entreprise unipersonnelle à responsabilité limitée, and SASU, which is Société par Action Simplifiée Unipersonnelle. So both of those are company types that are owned by one person, and they're company types that are owned by two or more people that are very similar. And finally, if you're an artist, and so either a graphic designer or a visual artist, a performer, a singer, an actor, any type of artist, there's a profession artistique visa as well that I've included. So these 5 different ways of being self-employed in France, the visa type you need for each one, and the main requirements for each one, that's in a free PDF, which you can download by entering your email. So I've given you the link. Please enter your email, get that free PDF. That will save you a lot of trouble in figuring out how you're going to be working for yourself while living in France. And feel free to come back with any questions that you have about that topic. I'm going to be doing a couple more Facebook Live videos on those topics coming up in the next week or two. So thank you for watching, and please download that PDF and let me know what you think of this video. Thanks. Bye.
Hey, this is Allison Grant-Lunes. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you learned something about living in France and were inspired about pursuing your own Franceformation. Do you want to learn how you can get the right visa and create your dream life in France? Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and to the Profiles in Franceformation podcast for more inspiring stories about people who made their Franceformation a reality, and for more tips and tricks on how to make your Franceformation happen for you. If you want to learn more about what visa is right for you and how to pursue your Franceformation, you can check out my book, Foolproof French Visas, which goes over basically every single way that you can possibly move to France. It's available as an ebook or in paperback on Amazon, and it will help you identify the right visa for you and prepare a successful application. Or if you'd like my personal help with applying for your visa and moving to France, you can go to www.yourfranceformation.com/free-call to request a free 30-minute Franceformation clarity call with me about how I can help you to make your dream a reality and get started on helping you to move to France. Thanks again for watching, and à bientôt.